I saw him yesterday afternoon, and his coordination had gone. He was completely blind and very, very weak, but very calm, very peaceful, and quite alert.
Is he under continuous supervision now?
Yes, well, the warder was in the room and also a medical officer while we had our half-hour visit.
Mrs. Sands, what do you think of the condition of your son at present?
Oh, I think he's coming up to near the end. I can't see how he can last much longer.
Mrs. Sands, does your son accept that his 5 demands won't be granted now?
I don't know. We don't bring it up now, we just sit and talk of old times, but yesterday he was talking of when he was at school, when he was in the youth club and things like that.
Is there any way you can see a solution coming about that would save his life even at this late stage?
Well, I still feel that I have hopes in Mr. Hoggy. I would appeal to him to try and intervene. I think he does realise that these prisoners' 5 demands are just and not unreasonable, and that if he spoke to Mrs. Thatcher, the whole thing could be settled right away. The fact that Bobby and his 3 friends are on hunger strike, if they came off it tomorrow morning for one reason or the other without the 5 demands, we would be highly delighted to save his life. But the thing is, there's 70 more lads have put the names down, and they will come on and start a new hunger strike. So the thing must be settled now.
Not end with Bobby's death.
If these 4 prisoners die, do you think that others will take their place?
Yes, they are.
Unfortunately, yes. And if, as I say, they came off it, if they didn't feel they could go on with it, there's more to go on.
Won't end with Bobby's death.
There's no end to it.
It's 3 o'clock in the morning. The place is Twinbrook, West Belfast, the home of Bobby Sands. In the last hour, the news has filtered through to this community that Bobby Sands has died after 66 days of hunger strike. And in scenes reminiscent of the early days of internment, bin lids have been bashed, car horns have been sounded to alert this community to the fact that Bobby Sands has died. And the Northern Ireland office in the last hour has issued a terse one-line statement. Mr. Robert Sands, a prisoner in the Maze prison, died today at 1:17. He took his own life by refusing food and medical intervention for 66 days. The Northern Ireland office has also issued a statement on behalf of Humphrey Atkins, the Northern Ireland Secretary of State. He says, "I regret this needless and pointless death. Too many have died by violence in Northern Ireland. In this case, it was self-inflicted." But to others, the Maze had claimed a martyr, a Republican martyr. In the early hours of this morning, as news broke from the prison, West Belfast was awakened by a tribal Republican ritual. But despite that Republican call, most people stayed in bed, while groups of teenagers built barricades in the streets. It was to be a night of occasional and indeed ritual violence, another night of hijacking, rioting and burning. But as dawn broke in Belfast, there was general relief that Sands' death had not sparked off a more violent reaction. In the more Republican districts of Belfast, black flags told their own story. But this picture wasn't typical. Apart from continued sporadic rioting, there was little disruption of normal living. But how might feeling develop? Father Des Wilson, priest and community worker.
Well, I can see things developing in this way, that I would be very surprised if this doesn't mark the beginning of the end of English rule in Ireland. The people were never, I think, as quietly angry. I've never seen anything like it. and vast numbers of people who never would have come out in any demonstration or have been out on the streets. People who always fought shy of all kind of political demonstrations were so angry at what the English government did on us and on my neighbours, that they came out in the streets in vast numbers and let nobody underestimate the effectiveness of that.
But isn't the reality that while there's black flags here in Ballymurphy, throughout most of West Belfast, we're not seeing people coming out in the streets? There isn't this open sympathy with Bobby Sands.
Well, we'll see what happens. As far as I'm concerned, there'll be a black flag out of my house, certainly. We'll see, I think, a lot of people who wouldn't have been involved before. I have been living here now for all this period, and I think I can assess the mood of the people reasonably well. And I know that the people are grimly determined that the English have played their last trick on us, and I think the people in the rest of Ireland should join us in making sure that that is so.
Can you see a resolution of this issue?
Yes, I can. The English must get out. They must get out, and they must be put out by any means that we can muster.
But in the immediate future, the hunger strike, the resolution of the hunger strike.
In the immediate future, the English government has it within its power, and the Irish government has it within its power to force them to resolve this by giving the prisoners their demands. Of course, why shouldn't they? Why not? It's not worth any lives, and the English will have to get out anyway.
But aren't we in the middle of a huge provisional propaganda campaign here?
What with that? What difference about that? This nonsense about provisional campaigns of propaganda. Sure, aren't we in the middle of a vicious British propaganda campaign, and nobody says anything about that? This is nonsense. Look, the people around here, if they're going to support the provisionals, they'll decide to do that, and they'll not be told by anybody who they would support. And if the provisionals were to go political, without being military, tomorrow, vast numbers of people would support them. Of course they would.
Today, on the Loyalist Shankill Road, the mood was quiet, almost unconcerned. The UDA had appealed for calm, and it was a scene far removed from those forebodings of civil war. But feelings about Bobby Sands were clear.
Well, I don't like to see anybody down, but it was his own choice for to do so. Like, after all, he's in there for a criminal offence, and it's up to himself, you know.
Do you think the hunger strikers should get the 5 demands they're looking for?
Not at all. No, they're in there to deserve for crimes. And I think the government just keep them as they are. Give them nothing.
You don't think the British government should make any concessions at all?
But if they give them these, they'll want something else.
Excuse me, sir, can I ask you how you feel about Bobby Sands' death?
Delighted. Delighted.
And why are you delighted?
Don't have my to elaborate on it.
Don't feel anything, it's just as well he's away.
And why do you think that?
Well, sure, it was his own fault. Nobody wanted him to die, he wanted to die himself.
Do you think the hunger strikers should get the 5 demands which they're looking for?
It all depends on themselves what to do.
I don't care about it. I'm worried about it.
How do you feel?
See him?
Why are you not worried about him?
It's Fenian.
Well, of course, I'm...
But Paddy Devlin believes the 5 demands are reasonable.
Quite reasonable. When I was in jail around 1942, 1945, we had the right to wear our own clothing and we wore them. We also prepared our own food and kept the place clean, to suit our own comfort. And I don't think that there was any reason why the British should have been so rigid and that they shouldn't have advanced or extended the 5 concessions that were sought for. In other countries, especially democratic countries in Western Europe and even in some of the states in America, you'll find that those reforms and more are extended to people in prison.
So do you think effectively the 5 demands could have been conceded without conceding a political status?
Yes, I'm quite certain that those 5 concessions could have been considered quite easily. A political status didn't come into it. A political status is yet to be defined. That's the difficult one for most people because it's difficult for people like myself to defend or support the idea of political status while lives have still been lost, while lives have still been taken. And clearly I think that to reduce it or to confine it purely to those concessions that they sought would have been quite reasonable and the lad's life wouldn't have been lost.
So what's the way forward from here, Paddy Devlin, in resolving this issue as you see it?
Yeah, well, I hope that some effort is made within the regime to at least reinterpret the 5 concessions that were given in the first instance. And I don't know that it's a matter for total confrontation in the way that it's turned out. I reckon that even within the prison administration it's possible to find a formula or to find the flexibility that would enable the prisoners to get the concessions they're looking for.
And what happens to this community if neither side gives?
Well, you can see what's happening. This is just merely prison reform, and yet we have a total collision between 2 sections of the community purely based on the Yahoo element that exists in both sections of the community. It gives them their freedom to do what they want. It gives them the opportunity to create hysteria. And the first thing you know, that both sides are lining up numbers of people to defend one another, and yet there's no way that anybody's going to attack one another, and they've said that repeatedly in public. But yet the hysteria created by the Yahoo element has led to the point where we're on the verge of total war.
If another hunger striker dies?
Oh, that's possible. It gets worse all the time.
Bobby Sands has filled the death columns of the nationalist Irish news, and today in West Belfast, his funeral was no ordinary Republican event. For the IRA, this was a major test of Catholic sympathy for the hunger strikers, and for the world's press, a carefully stage-managed affair. West Belfast had closed down for the day, and the security presence was discreet. Thousands watched as the hearse started out on its 4-mile journey to Milltown Cemetery. For up to 3 hours, tens of thousands waited quietly for the procession to pass. The mood was determined. It was clear this was a voluntary expression of public sympathy. Republican funerals have always drawn a crowd here in West Belfast, but never a crowd quite like this. Quite simply, this is one of the biggest political funerals in the history of Ireland. And here today, a whole community, it seems, has turned out in an obvious, overwhelming show of solidarity for the hunger strikers and the late Bobby Sands.
Well, Bobby Sands died for the like of us that's able to make us be able to walk anywhere in our own country, which we're not allowed to do, as you can see for yourself there. That's why I turned out. And I think he was a very courageous man.
You don't think he committed suicide?
No, I do not. No way.
Sorry.
He was murdered. Maggie Thatcher's allowed the answer for it. She could have took him off at any time she wanted. Man, I believe in everything a man fought and died for. I salute him. To us, he's an Irish martyr, nothing more. And they made him a martyr.
But not all the thousands who turned out today would have seen Sands as a martyr or even justified his hunger strike. But certainly the turnout was in such a scale to suggest the Catholic community has at least sympathy for the hunger strikers, if not supporting the IRA. But for the IRA, the turnout was a clear renewal of their H-Block's mandate. Bobby Sands' graveside was yet another propaganda victory on H-Blocks. But if the emotional tide is running the IRA's way, only a small fraction of the large crowd actually turned out at the graveside for the Republican orations. It was a sign that the Catholic community has measured its support for the Republican cause.